welcome everyone to our third educational event from MetaGen. Thanks for coming. And yeah, today we have something on the topic of AI and VR, which I think is really cool. So yeah, Thimo is developing an open source tool for speech to text and different, which can be used in different ways with VR. So yeah, and we may be able to try it as well. So yeah, I leave it to him, and yeah, let's give him a round of applause as well. So,
All right. Thank you for the introduction, Gil.
It's very nice of you. Like he said, I'm here today to present to you guys an application I've been working on called OpenOSC-STT OSC. It's an application that's supposed to transcribe your speech into text so that if you don't want to talk to people because you have selective mutism or something like that, or you can't use your voice, or because you're talking to a deaf person, that they can still follow along with your conversation and you don't have to worry about them not being able to understand you. So the talking points of today are why, features and upcoming, AMA, and how to set it up. So
Yes, 4 seconds, please.
Oh yeah, that's delay. So why did I decide to create this application? Well, there's a couple of reasons. It all started when one of my friends jokingly told me about this application that somebody else was already making that does the same thing that my application does. The only difference is it uses Azure Cloud or some other different cloud service to achieve its transcription, which is an issue because this costs money and not everybody has access to this. And I think this should be a compatibility feature in VRChat for people that don't speak or something like that, or need captions to read. So at first I was like, this is going to be really hard because I probably need something like a cloud service to be able to achieve this. But one day I found an AI made by Elon Musk called OpenAI, and the name of the AI itself is called Whisper. This AI does exactly what we want it to do, and it's open source. It transcribes your speech into text, and it can do multiple languages, which is an added bonus. I'll come back to that later. So that's the reason why, or the first reason why I wanted to create it, because I thought it should be an accessibility feature for people that are mute or don't want to speak, or people that are deaf, so they can read along with people that can speak. So the features and upcoming stuff for this application. Right now, it's still very heavily in development. It's still in early access that you guys are going to be using if you want to, of course. No, nothing like that. There's a couple drawbacks to it. Like you need to have CUDA, which means you need to have an NVIDIA graphics card. AMD is not capable of providing this feature. And it does use quite a bit of VRAM and normal RAM, about 2 gigs depending on the model you're using, for both, for RAM and VRAM. So the features that this program provide, as you can kind of see and derive from the image in the back here, is it allows you to switch your OSC parameters, of course, like usual. It allows you to adjust your gate, so when the audio or when the program will start recording your voice, it's also able to transcribe your speech in different languages. So if you speak a different language, like Spanish, for example, then it will also be able to pick this up and transcribe it into Spanish. Now, as you can tell, there's also a little checkbox that's called Translate Speech, but it's English only. So when you click this box, when you speak your language, it will pick this up normally, but then it will try to transcribe it into English, and English only. So you cannot do Spanish to Chinese, for example, but you can do Spanish to English or Chinese to English. This is a limitation of the AI that I'm working with, but I do have plans in the future to be able to use a third-party translator to translate your English speech into any language you want to, or any other language into any other language you want to. But this is, like I said, an upcoming feature, and it's still in development, and it's not ready yet. So for now, this is the only option I have, which is English only. It's not very accurate. Also, any other language beside English is also not very accurate with this model, so do not expect high-grade transcription from anything that's not English. On top of that, another upcoming feature that I've planned for this software is going to be a push-to-talk, or push-to-toggle more accurately, so that you can toggle it on and off while you're in-game with your controllers and start and stop the recording process, so that you don't, for example, when somebody walks in the room, that it doesn't transcribe the whole conversation you have with the other person in the room if you don't want it to. So that's one of the bigger features that's going to be coming up. There's also already implemented a save and load feature, so that you don't have to reset all your parameters every time you load the program. It's not necessary, because if there is no config file, it will still work. It will just load default values, and you have to reset it every time. Another feature that I want to add to this application is the ability to send different ASCII characters or different languages. But this is an issue with VRChat itself, so anything that's non-ASCII cannot be sent as of the moment. But I do have good news. VRChat did announce a new update that is right now, currently as we speak, in open beta, which does support UTF-8 for their chat boxes through OSC, which is what this application uses. So if you speak Chinese or any other language, it will finally be able to be sent through OSC and no longer be big question marks like it used to be, because they're non-ASCII characters. Are there any more questions for me about this program, or anything that you guys would like to know?
Yes. First of all,
Go ahead, Julian.
First of all, thank you for doing this. It's great. I love the mixture of VR and AI. I think that's the future right there. I want to ask a couple things about the model because I'm curious, and also I work in a similar field. So first of all, how's the inference time?
So this really depends on which model you use. By default, the model we use is base, it's called, but you have 5 different models. So you have English only, then you have base. Those two both use about 2 gigabytes of VRAM. Then you have small, medium, and large, which are the bigger ones, funnily enough. The small one uses about 4 gigabytes of VRAM. The medium one about 6 to 8-ish, and the large one 10, according to their website. But what I have noticed is that even the base, which is supposed to only take up 1 gigabyte-ish, takes up 2. So that's what I say it takes up for my application in particular. And to the time...
Okay, but for every second of speech, how long does it take for it to get translated to text?
This is really subjective on what hardware you have, since it uses CUDA. But it's 32x for the base, which is the one that's default used by default.
Okay.
There's no real time.
Okay, but it's pretty much real time in commercial GPUs.
Can you repeat that?
Is it pretty much real time in a commercial GPU,
Yes,
like
yes,
at,
yes,
2080 or
yes.
whatever? 20. Okay, perfect.
It's basically real time. There's like maybe half a second max delay.
Yeah,
And
perfect,
this is on almost all graphics cards I've tested with other people during the beta.
Great.
You said you had another question?
That's nice. Another one. So, does it use a dictionary? Can you just put nonsense?
No, it does not use a dictionary. It's trained on 650,000 hours of speech.
No, I know, but
Just running through it.
can I just output random words? Like if I say la 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 like that, what do I get the actual?
If you say la 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 la, it will get that and just say it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, great. Okay.
But it will
think that's
sometimes
it.
try to interpret it as something else.
I guess we could try
Try it out.
because I think it does have it does have some language modeling elements, right? So like it has a tendency to output things which are
Because
words,
some
right?
models have
But
at the last layer, they have, when I said dictionary, I meant like, I think they call it language modeling head, where it doesn't let you output a random word. It searches for the most closer actual word that that it must be. Like it kind of tries to predict it.
So
Because
if you're trying to
something like
get
that, yeah.
if you're trying to get a sentence or like when you speak in a sentence, it's generally really good, but it tries to interpret more. If you're speaking a word, it tends to mess it up because it's only one word and has no context. This Whisper AI is very much driven by context for the most part. So long sentences it will be very good at, but very short words, if they're not spoken clearly, it might not get it correctly or make something completely different from it.
Okay.
The application itself also sometimes has an issue, but this is probably a bug I cannot fix because it's directly inside of the Whisper AI, and I do not have enough knowledge of the AI itself to be able to adjust it to this point, which is sometimes it just spams one thing for a long period of time. So let's say you laughed and it was kind of a weird laugh. Then it will just say like 60 times ha ha ha. Just in a row. Just in one sentence for some reason. I don't know why it does this. It has no reason to do this, but it does. Sometimes it does this. It's very rare, but it does happen. Oh, and that brings me back to a point I actually forgot to talk about. I am adding a clear queue. So when you speak for more than 144 characters, VRChat has a direct cutoff point. So if you send more than 144 characters to the OSC chat box, it will just straight up say nope to the last characters, whatever you said. So instead of doing that, I implemented a feature that checks for this limit, sees if the word falls within or out of this limit, and depending on that, it will either append it to the next message or add it to the current message. So you'll never lose, if you're stuck in a long conversation, you'll never lose your words that you said after the 144 character limit, which is a really good feature. But if it then spams your console with like 60 ha-has, then you have a queue that is like long, you know. it will be there for a while. So that's why I want to add a dump queue button to the system so that you can just clear the queue when this happens. It's kind of a workaround, but it's just a limitation that I'm working with.
Okay. Can you change your language mid-sentence?
No. If you're changing it mid-sentence, even if you leave it on auto-detect your language, it will detect the most viable language it thinks you spoke. So if you're switching between languages mid-sentence, then it will say English, and then, for example, your Spanish part will be tried to convert to English, which doesn't really work.
Okay, got it. Thank you, you're great.
All right, any more questions? If not, then we can go into the setup.
One more or two more producers questions. Like, is everything rendered on your machine, or are you communicating with the OpenAI cloud?
There is no cloud service for this AI, so it's all rendered on your local machine, which is also why it only works on NVIDIA, because you need to have CUDA cores, you need to have the hardware to actually run it, which is also why, as you can, if goes back to features and upcoming, then you can see that I post some warnings in the output terminal. There you go. So first transcription might be slow. This is because when you first speak, it has to initialize the AI, so it will take a little bit before it actually starts to transcribe it, but after that it's really fast. Then the second thing says this program uses CUDA and might impact performance. So the impact is mostly due to VRAM usage, because it uses about 2 gigs of VRAM. So if you have like a 4 gig GPU, then this is probably not for you. Just saying, this is more towards the people that don't want to spend money on a cloud service or something like that, and have like a 2070 or like a 1070, like something with at least more than 8 gigs. And then for the part where it actually impacts your gameplay in FPS directly, it's very minimal. It's like half a second. While it's transcribing, you'll feel like a frame drop of like from going from frame time like 20 milliseconds to 40 milliseconds for maybe not even half a second, and then it will go back to normal. So it's very minimal. I've not really noticed an impact while on VRChat unless you're really moving around a lot. Then you can see it dip frames and just come back after that. But this is very unnoticeable usually, so it's pretty good at that. But yes, to come back to your question, it does not work with cloud service. Any more questions?
Thank you so much. Did you ever measure the lag until the text appears?
It's kind of hard to say, since I add a artificial delay of 1 second before it actually starts transcribing, because humans tend to have pauses in their speech. So when you speak like this, like I'm doing right now, it would have stopped already at that point when I would have just paused for a second and continued, which is what we don't want. So I add 1 second where it still records and waits, and if there's nothing been said in those 1 second, then it starts to transcribe. Only then, not before. So it's hard to say, but it's about like a second maybe to half a second, something in that ballpark is its delay. It's very fast. But this again, that really heavily depends on what model you're using. By default, it's using base. And in the version you guys are getting, you cannot switch from that right now, just because the English only model needs some specific configuration which I have not set up. So right now you guys can only use base, but for most part, that's all you need and all you want.
Cool, thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah, interesting. I have a question. Like, do you plan to also? I mean, this is probably very niche to kind of what I will be interested to try, but like, I will also like to be able to like transcribe kind of what other people are saying, although I can see that not always working very well. But like, will that be hard to add, like like transcribe kind of from the speakers as well? And then I can explain why I'm interested in this. But
it is possible, and you can basically already do it if you use something like Voicemeter to pipe the audio back into the system through a microphone input.
right.
I have done this. But Whisper AI really does not like it when two sentences are being said to each other, like in between each other, you know? So
Yeah.
Whisper AI, the AI works very well if there's no second person speaking in the background. Like some white noise, some background noise, like a fan, it doesn't really care about that. It just does not like it when there is a second person speaking in the same room you're in, because then it doesn't know which conversation to follow and just mixes all the words up. So if you're in a quiet room with nothing going on and only one person, then this will work great, but not in public lobbies. And it will trigger on any sound.
Yeah.
So
I could
it's
see that,
not
that being an issue.
it's probably not going to be an implemented feature, at least not anytime in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I could see this being done in Neos because I do have access to the individual person stream, so like I could like transcribe everyone individually or something. Yeah, I mean, I just think that would be pretty cool because then you could like, I had this weird idea of like feeding the conversation you're having with someone to GPT-3 and like have GPT-3 suggest things to say, like, you know, suggest like funny responses or something, and it's kind of.
Oh my god, you're a genius. That's so good.
Yeah, so like that's something I want to try, but like yeah, like there's some technical things like it will. Yeah, in VRChat it will probably, as you say, only work if you're like one-on-one or something. But
yeah, and since we can no longer use mods for this stuff, not that it would be allowed anyways, so I'd probably not do it anyways, but let's say we would be allowed to use mods, then I could probably do it, but it would be very heavily impacted on your performance, because then I could hook into people's audio tracks directly, so then I can tell you to like select somebody to listen to, and then it can grab just his audio source basically. But I cannot do this, of course. So it's not anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions? I think that's it then. Let's move to the setup.
Yeah.
So I have a link to a Google Drive where I host a file. I don't know what the best ways of distributing this. Gil, do you have an idea, like in the Discord server, maybe somewhere or something? Preferably limited to the people that are actually here, though, because I don't want it to spread yet, since it's not ready for release yet.
So we could. I mean, I could create like a URL shortened URL of the thing you sent me to, and then I just like literally share it on the screen. Maybe.
I mean, if people
Like,
want
if
to
you-
type, sure, I guess.
Well, that's why I'm saying like a short URL that is like 5 characters or something.
Let me grab the link for you guys.
You can just stick it in Discord and then delete the message off, like after everyone's got it.
Yeah, that's
I
probably
could
a
also
better
do
idea.
that.
Probably a better idea.
Easy.
Yes, copy link. All right, I'll just send it in here, Gil, and then you can just post it where you think it will be the best location.
My track isn't dead.
Oh no. Okay, yeah, I guess I'll post it on the Discord.
I should probably talk about the installer for a bit. The installer should do everything for you. It does all the required files for the program are included. There is one stage in the installer which asks you to add, if you want to add a path variable. If you do not know what this is, just leave it checked so it adds it. If not, and you know what a path variable is, then think to yourself if you have ffmpeg in your path variable. If yes, you can uncheck it, but it doesn't really matter to have it twice in your variable anyways. So you can just leave it as well. Once the application uninstalls, if you want to delete it again, there's an uninstaller inside of the folder. It will remove this path variable as well, so it will not stay. That's an important little thing.
I posted it on general. You can also meet. Well, it's 1.3 gigabytes lol. My
Yeah, it's pretty
internet
big
is-
because it needs to include the entirety of CUDA. So the final file size is 5 gigabytes.
once it's done installing, and that's because CUDA needs to be included into it, and it's not a default driver thing you have with your NVIDIA computer or with your NVIDIA graphics card. So it needs to be included, which is kind of sad, but nothing I can do about that.
Chunk.
It's chunky, very chunky.
Wow.
Yes. But what if I have CUDA already installed?
If you do not have it in your path, then it still won't work. So that's why I add it.
No, but if it is already installed and in my path, then it will not override it, I guess.
No, it doesn't create a path variable since it's in your local variable or in your local path. So it already knows it's there.
I would say if it already exists, it doesn't like.
It doesn't override it. No,
do
all the
anything.
files are. It doesn't write anything outside of its directory. So everything is contained within this one folder. There's no leftover files anywhere.
Let's see.
Maybe during the creation process, but this would be in a temp folder in your Windows app data file, so it shouldn't matter. Windows should delete this on its own. The application itself does not use anything outside of its folder. Except if you have FFmpeg installed. Then it will maybe use that one, but that shouldn't matter.
Okay. Yes, I'm downloading it. My internet is not very fast, so.
Oh, you're talking to an Australian. My internet shit.
I'm literally in the countryside.
You should get Starlink.
Starlink.
Yeah,
Isn't that
I
really
wish.
expensive though? Alright.
The lag's pretty bad, I've heard as well.
There we go.
Oh, really?
I
I
heard
thought
that it's
that-
doing an awesome
The
job.
latency. No, like
Yeah, I
the
thought
speed.
latency
yeah.
was one of its selling points.
Oh.
No, someone had used it and they just like the speed's good, but like the latency's like over a second, just because it's
There we go.
like, got to bounce around everywhere. Why aren't you installing? I'm getting a
That's
security
surprising.
warning. It's not. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, probably I have the worst internet. It still takes me 1 more minute.
Bad internet competition.
I will lose that.
But I have to share with husband.
Lucky you.
So,
What are you using
Always.
FFmpeg for?
It needs to be able to read the audio clip that it's creating. So when I'm recording,
Is
it's
it-
actually not directly sending it to the AI because it doesn't take direct source. It only takes audio files. So I create an audio file of your recording and then I'm sending this to it, and it needs to read this with FFmpeg.
That's kind of scuffed.
Oh wait,
It's a workaround.
wait.
I'd
you
rather
sure?
have a direct audio stream because I could give it a direct audio stream. I just don't have the ability to.
Yeah.
Unless I want to make my own audio or my own STT AI, but this is going a little bit beyond my scope. And for like how good it is, I cannot probably match this. And I know there's other ones out there that do take direct audio stream, but those are usually a lot worse than this one is and use a lot more resources. So that's why I decided on the OpenAI Whisper.
I mean, I imagine you don't actually. I mean, you don't need to like recreate the AI. Probably, like, there's probably a way to change the model in a way that I'm guessing.
Maybe.
I haven't looked into it. But
But AI is not really in my scope when it comes to messing with it. I know a little bit about PyTorch and how it functions. And how to get it running. I just...
Say that.
Brrr. Oh,
say
that's what I need to
GPU
do.
go. Brrr.
Oh, nice.
Like I said, it's sometimes it does interpret it, but if it's very clear that you do not want anything else except for what you're saying, then it will do what you're saying. It won't try to interpret it, basically.
No, actually, it's doing it very well. Damn, I'm impressed. Very nice, very nice.
Like I said, when you're speaking sentences, it's pretty good at what it does. If you're trying to say some small sentence or small words, it doesn't really know what you're saying sometimes. And there you can see the queue system.
Nice.
That's another thing. The queue system is based on two variables. So it takes a percentage of how many words you've spoken, and then to the min max value you put in. Right now it's still not an option to change these unless you build from source, then you could change them manually. But right now it's set to 2 seconds and 7 seconds. 2 seconds being the minimum amount of time between messages, and 7 seconds being the max amount of time between messages. And this is calculated based on the percentage of how full the chat box is. So if you speak for more than 144 characters, it will always be 7 seconds for the 144 character message. But if you speak for like 50 characters, then it will calculate a difference between the min and the max value based on the percentage, and it will make that the amount of time it displays. So the time between messages in your queue is really dependent on how big the message is, which is a good thing, because if you said hello and it waited 7 seconds for the next sentence or the next word you said after that, that would be really bad.
Yo, finish installing. Oh, I can't click it with my overlay.
Okay, let's hope there's no bugs with it. There is an exe in there that you can run, and then everything should just work. Do let me know if you're having issues.
You can see mine is installing there.
It's almost there. 300 MB left.
Install.
I mean, it's been going on for longer than I thought it would.
Yeah. And
You know, you said it messed up sometimes, but I haven't seen it mess up a single time yet. I think it's very good.
Oh yeah, compared to most services, it's really good. But it sometimes has some catastrophic failures, like I said. I can actually demonstrate a couple.
Okay.
So if it detects a voice, if it cannot hear what you're saying inside of the box, sometimes it will just default to a couple words. For example, thank you, you, bye, and bye-bye, and some other stuff that I do not quite remember are some of its defaults that it will revert to if it doesn't understand.
oh, so you mean if you say like some nonsense or something?
No, nonsense it will try to interpret it, but very short like pops and stuff, which is actually funny because it does actually know what a pop is.
Okay. Running.
Nonsense.
My performance is shite.
Pop.
Pop. Alright, I'm seeing the output. My computer's like 5 years old, so to be expected. How do I turn on my chat?
What if you put a dog barking?
It's working.
Don't know.
What if you bark?
Haven't tried that. I do know when it detects music, it might try to interpret it, or it might just say music.
That's funny. Like maybe if you put at the dog, it says dog. I mean, like some, like maybe strain like subtitles, right?
See, a default response because I just hit my headset and it makes that.
Oh yeah.
So I already have. So that's also
Wait,
another thing.
where is it installed?
It does no intent. So the way you say something will change the way it displays the message.
What do
hate
what do you
you.
mean? As in like?
I hate you. That's an exclamation mark.
Oh, that's good.
Or when you're speaking mid
No.
a sentence and then you all of a sudden stop. Oh, add a question mark. I need to
how's
say
your
something like
translator
within.
going?
No, it didn't do it this time either. So sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it thinks it's just the end of the sentence. But when you stop midway sentence and it thinks it should still continue, it will add 3 dots. So for example, if you...
Wait, do I have to like? Oh, there
It will add 3 dots to the end of the message. Because it thinks it should still continue.
Where did it install it?
x86
To
and then
your
open.
it's defaultly program files x86, but if you changed it, then it will install whatever you changed it to.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I didn't take notice. I was like next.
Will it be on the menu or something?
You should read installers. No, it's
Yeah, I
in your program
don't.
files x86
It's
in your C drive. or your
No, I'm
default drive,
just
your Windows
doing
drive.
like this super slow Windows search.
Oh, okay.
So your
This is
Windows
really
drive,
cool.
and then in your program
Yeah.
files, and it's called OpenOSC-STT. Yes.
Found
You could also
it.
just run the installer again, and then you can see where default installs to. That's usually what I do when I don't remember where I install things. I just run the installer again and see like, oh, it installed it there. All right.
Nice.
I found it by hand faster than the Windows search. Oop.
Windows search is not very good.
It's an insult.
But yeah, for example, I've been speaking this whole time and like moving, and I'm still at 50 FPS, which is what I was at before. And then, well, I didn't even notice it lagged this time. I don't know if it did actually transcribe or if it didn't, because it didn't lag. So I have a
like, I'm-
2070 Super, so this might be different for you guys, of course. But it's not the most powerful, but it's not the weakest.
Well, I got a
How do you
1080.
turn on-
And now I
It's
just
all
go
right.
to start. Gracefully.
Just click start.
Fucking
Yeah,
1080.
but
Okay.
it grabs your default audio device. So whichever device that might be is the one it takes.
Currently.
So you might have to
that's
switch
not
it in the
swearing
drop-down.
index.
Cool.
But good mention. Oop.
Okay, so
Oh yeah,
wait,
it does everything. There's no censoring on it or
Oh,
anything like that.
turn on the chat box.
It also
Well,
knows
it's so
some
weird.
very
Hello,
specific
how are you doing
terminology.
today? What do
For
you
example,
have
if
on
I
the
say the
menu?
words ASCII and UTF-8, it will probably get these right. Not always, but usually.
I love it. This is amazing.
There you see actual terminology. ASCII and UTF-8 are all correctly spelled and
Wait.
capitalized.
I don't see your chat box. Hang on. Do I have to turn something on for other people?
Yeah, so in your settings,
It should be on by default,
you have
shouldn't
to. No, it's to friends only
Well,
by default. You have to manually
do you
switch it
turn
to
on-
everyone.
Hello, my name is Kate.
I swear they
That's
changed
my
it.
chat box.
I didn't turn on chatbox for you. You aren't on my friends list. I can see you.
Wow.
So you're,
Hang on. Why
That's-
can't,
that's
maybe
all
I
it
don't know. It
is.
should not be on by
settings.
default. It's on friends.
I'm
by
pretty
default.
sure they changed it. It used to be.
Maybe.
But
But
I
maybe
swear
just
I read in
launched
one
it.
of the.
Maybe he just still has the old settings. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
it just
maybe.
saved for him.
Where do I change it?
I think that might
me,
be what
I
happened.
must
It's in your
dispense.
settings, like your
friends
floaty
are
menu
bright
settings, like the one that's on your
I
palm, and then at the
must
bottom it
make
says
amends.
chat box and then
hard all
local
my
chat box
lifetime.
visibility and set
No
it to
help
everyone.
from my friends.
But
Local.
can I see my own chat box?
Fucking hell, this is great.
Yeah,
You
so
gotta
if you
put a
look up, you
mirror
can see your own chat
our local
box.
chat box, everybody.
But like I don't have it on. How do I turn it
Cool.
on?
Put your personal mirror
well,
on
it's
and,
not-
and
do
add
you
in
have
a
OSC on
UI.
here?
OSC is enabled. I
Alright, well,
can.
is your IP address correct?
I don't know. You can see there. It's just a
If
local.
it's still the default, it should be fine because it's local address. Is it
Wow.
on? Is it actually transcribing in your output box?
Yeah, you can see there.
Oh,
Behind it.
it might be,
I cannot see it. I can just see
Uh,
your
what
Really
exactly-
cool.
browser.
do you, if
Oh,
it loses
that is
connection to
wonderful.
OSC, do you ever try to reconnect? If not, that might just be because he opened it before he turned on OSC, right?
Oh yeah,
So
I do not
never-
try to reconnect. I did not know
Yeah.
this was an issue.
Maybe try restarting the
Stop.
thing. and
Usually what
check.
I do to get it to fix, because I had this happen before and I've never had it not work, but I've had this happen once. And it was just because of a config file or something, because when I reloaded into the world, it was fine. Just when I was here, it didn't work for some reason. So you might have to rejoin the world to get it to work again. I've never seen this issue like in all my testing. It only happened once, and it was because reasons. And the thing is, it does
Try.
actually. I haven't. Oh, okay. I wanted to do something
Oh
before
my
that.
God.
So what I noticed when it happened to me, that it was sending it according to my application, but it wasn't appearing above my head. And I had OSC on, and it was working before fine. When I opened the debug menu for OSC, it would show up. It would be there. So I think it's an issue with VRChat. So rejoining a world
Yeah,
fixed
that's
it for me.
the issue with VRChat. But that's not exactly what I meant. If you didn't have OSC enabled, the VRChat OSC server wouldn't be running. So your application might just never have connected.
I don't think this matters for the specific OSC controller I use. I think it just
Maybe.
searches for it. If it doesn't
Oh, yeah.
find it, then it doesn't do anything. And then it will automatically search again and again and again.
Ah, alright. Yeah.
Because I have launched this application so many times, restarted my VRChat and stuff, and it was still working every time I got back into it.
Alright, yeah.
You guys are all sending non-ASCII characters. That's so interesting.
I'm eating, so it's just
Ah,
like
that's
picking
why.
up like
So
chewing
this is what I
noises.
mean with
It's a very
the issue
confused.
of in his.
He doesn't know what's
Well,
going
you can
on.
actually set it. You can
Oh,
actually
yeah,
set it
chat box
to only English.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
oh,
this
yeah.
is a VRChat box
Yeah.
issue.
I
So
ju- I
they
just
already
don't see
fixed
it on the
it.
personal
It's in the
mirror.
open
Well-
beta. In the open beta,
question, do
they
you know if you-
switched it to
Hello?
UTF-8.
Do you know if you can send new
Oh.
line characters?
Oh, whoa.
I have not
Will it
tried.
actually?
Think from speaking Korean.
I don't think you can. I think they parse all this stuff. The
well.
reason they didn't make it UTF-8 to begin with was to avoid injection and scripting
It
and
doesn't
stuff inside of a
recognize
chat
oh,
box.
Yeah,
whoa.
of course.
So that's why it took so long for them to implement UTF-8 into the OSC layer. So right now it's kind of there. It's in the open beta, but it's not released yet. So
Come
this
on.
got sent like 2 days ago.
Okay, see, that's what I
I feel
meant
like
with that
new line
dictionary.
characters would be harmless now. I should just
Huh?
check for myself at some point.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
But
I
I
meant
don't
it's
know
not,
if
it's
it
not
does
really a
this.
dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
but
check.
it's not exactly a dictionary. It's a language model, like you were saying. But yeah, you're right. It works like a dictionary at the end.
Oh,
Hmm.
Cool.
Oh,
I don't know,
yeah.
what is it? The
Um, yeah, I think.
Deeply impressed.
Okay, yeah. I
and
that's good. That's good.
Many challenges for us. So the question is that
Um,
open source?
Yeah, we can do a group shot. Can you take pictures as well?
So could I hop or have like
Okay.
with the coder hop on GitHub and
Find it? Yes.
develop
It's right there, it's
something
open.
similar for Neos or
Yeah, you can. It's
wow.
You can also, I also accept pull requests. So if you have a feature or something and you want it to be in the main versions for everybody to use, for example, some improvements of some sort or something like that, maybe better UI or something like that.
Just one sec, like
Wow.
because Carlos has to leave. If we can just take a group picture before he
Oh
leaves.
yes!
And then we can continue talking.
Wow,
But,
this
yeah,
is amazing. Really, really cool. How do I
If
jump
everyone
in
comes
Wait,
the
give me a
app
second.
chat?
Really
Sorry. Wait, does the camera pick up the chat boxes?
If you set
only
it to have UI enabled,
yeah.
because it's considered UI. So it's kind of a downside because you also see the nameplates. So that's my only issue with them. I think they should add the UI to a separate layer and then allow mirrors to show them by default and cameras. And then you have an extra filter option in your camera or something like that to disable them again.
Well, the path option was only for FFmpeg, right?
Yeah, it's only for FFmpeg. If you have
Okay,
FFmpeg installed, just
maybe
ignore
you should
it.
specify that in the options.
Yeah, I already have this in my to-do list. Don't worry about it.
All right, good.
Is everybody on the stage that wants
I just forgot about it when I built this version. It is the latest version that you guys are running.
Julian.
Cheese! Thimo!
Cheese! Cheese!
Yeah.
Speech to text!
Whiskey.
Guillermo, can you
Queso
put,
fundido.
Guillermo, put the slide on in the background for his show?
Yeah.
From his
Just
presentation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, one sec.
I love how SteamVR keeps opening the funny tab menu. It's really annoying.
Tab menu?
Okay, so you know how when you have like Task Manager or something open with like SteamVR, it always like shows you a list of all the like windows and crap you have opened whenever you go into the like desktop view.
Alright guys, here we go. I'm gonna take one shot with your
Okay.
name tag.
Say cheese.
Sideways, can you go to your
Wait,
right?
wait.
Move over to your right. Yeah, a little bit more.
My right?
Yes, you're right. There, right there, right there, right there. That's good. Alright. And here we go. 1, 2, and bam. Got
Say
it?
cheese.
Speech to text!
Cheese.
And I'm gonna
Cheese!
Speech to text. AI.
Oh, AI! We all love AI! And we are, of course. We live in AR. And no, we live in VR and love AI. That was.
We live in AI and we love VR. Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Both works.
We're done.
go.
We're good. We're good. Thank you. Love you all.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
So cool.
You're amazing.
All right. Then I take my leave.
Oh.
Thank you. That was great.
Goodbye.
Handshake.
Oh. Headbutt. Thank you for coming.